Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. Drivers that are maybe not in F1, drivers that are not in F1 at the minute, whether it's younger drivers or drivers in Indy or Formula E or whatever, who you think maybe would do a better job than most, like an underrated job.
Outside of F1?
Juicy.
Who would do an underrated job if they got a seat in F1. So, for example, Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah.
I think
He
I think
definitely
people would
never
be
had a car that
surprised.
suited him.
Yeah, because when we had Alex Jakes on, he was saying Stoff was like is the one that he would put in if he could pick the whole 20. Like he would put Stoff in because I think you're up against Fernando Alonso in a shit
In a
McLaren.
shit box, yeah.
Like he didn't get. I think Stoffel would do a better job than most people would think. If you say Stoffel Van
I
Dorn,
see
it's not
what
a
you
name you
mean.
get super
Okay.
excited about, but I think he'd do a really good job.
Yeah, flies under the
Love to see him
radar.
back in F1,
So
actually.
who else? Who else? Let's get like a. I want to get five
I mentioned
drivers.
Verline earlier.
Pascal Verline.
Well, literally anyone, so they don't have to have been in Formula One already.
They could have been in the past, or they might have never been in Formula One. But like Robert Schwartzman, for example, someone who's been
Astonishing.
forgetting
Yeah,
about,
Man,
right?
wow. He
Great junior
just never
career.
made it, innit? Yeah.
And he's reserve at Ferrari, and I think he'd do a great job.
I'm going to live and die by Liam Lawson. I think the pace that he's got is
Yeah.
He's
phenomenal.
looked good in Super Formula.
Yeah,
He's
he does.
looking
Yeah.
great.
He's
And
racing in Japan.
He's
open
just so
wheelers.
versatile. Actually, that is a good shout because he's driven so many different types of cars because he was in DTM, wasn't
Beat
he? At
Alex
one
in
point?
DTM, almost
Yeah.
won the championship.
Yeah, literally. He should have won it, but got like taken out like the final
Yeah.
like race of the season or whatever. Gone over Super Formula, slapping it there. Done one in Junior Formulas. He's actually a really good shout.
and he's still young. Like, we couldn't
yeah.
believe he's 21.
Mate,
Really?
He's
I thought
21.
he was like 24.
Literally
for
makes
some
me
reason.
feel sick.
That's disgusting.
and he's so experienced
Yeah.
at his age as well. Like he's driven in so many different series.
I karted against Liam Lawson once.
Really?
Yeah.
You beat him as well, yeah.
Well, I was
beat
ahead of
Lawson,
him.
yeah.
No, I was ahead of him when I came
Yeah,
out.
come on then.
And I saw
Yeah,
him,
yeah,
I saw him in his
yeah,
own
yeah,
box. And then I looked behind me and he wasn't there because I think he'd like gone off. So I think I
Right,
spooked him.
right,
Like,
yeah.
The ability, he was
pressure.
just too much and he couldn't handle it. You know?
Yeah. He actually just couldn't see the corner.
Yeah.
Your massive head.
Yeah. I mean,
That is a
I'd be offended if it
violation.
wasn't true. I'd be
That was
offended
out
if it
of
wasn't
nowhere.
true. Wow.
How you feeling?
It's like a whole like my childhood of bullying coming back.
Oh no! Don't
it's
drop that
okay,
one.
man.
Don't drop that.
It's okay. My dead trim would have blocked the apex as well, mate.
Yeah, I
Don't
just
you
bounced
stress.
off it there.
Yeah, exactly.
That was good. I like that.
What about Pato Awards? What about the IndyCar crew?
Yeah, I think there's a good amount of, from what I see anyway, because you can only judge from what you see, right? And I'll try and follow the IndyCar as much as possible. I think Pato gets good plaudits. I think he's got a lot of support, and I think he'd do a great job in F1. I think him and Palou, they're both on that McLaren Junior program, aren't they?
Palou's so well regarded at McLaren.
Yeah.
So many other people.
It's weird though. He was really averaging like junior formula in Europe, and just kind of went American. Was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I'm actually good now, and just started like slapping it over there. I think if he came back over, because he's got like obviously knowledge of all the tracks as well, being Spanish and stuff. So
This is why you can't define drivers by their junior careers.
Yeah,
like,
facts.
There's no one route. Yes, you get certain drivers like Lewis, like Charles, like Max, who just were always at the top going through. But then you look at, again, like when I, for a video like a couple of weeks ago, I was looking at Piastri and Sargent, and the hype around Piastri has been exponentially more than Sargent going into this season. And, obviously because of the Alpine drama and all that, I get it.
Yeah.
But like, you look in junior karting, like Sargent was like world champion, like year after, he was unreal. Piastri was good, but he wasn't like winning championships like Sargent was. And then all of a sudden in F3 and F2, Piastri, Formula Renault before that, Piastri just gets in these single seaters and just takes off. And Sargent, wasn't having the same success. So I think we've got Van Dorn, we've got Lawson,
yeah, definitely.
we've got who else? You said Verline.
I did say Verline, but
Verline's like lead. Yeah, I think because he's leading
kept up
FE
with
this year.
yeah,
But he didn't do great the last couple of years. But I think Verline would be a really interesting thing for maybe Mercedes to bring. If they wanted to just find number two,
Yeah.
I think Verline could be that person potentially.
yeah,
'Cause he's still
Wasta.
fairly young.
Oh, you're staunch Iwasa. We know that.
Man, I'm a
We
heavy
love
Iwasa prop.
around here.
Heavy Iwasa prop. This is Iwasa territory around here.
He's the only one to win, 2 races
Yeah,
this
this
season,
is-
right?
He is, yeah. And he was really good, like tail end of last year, second half
he's,
of
he's
last year.
picked up a lot of momentum.
But again,
second half
he
last year.
I think in Formula 3 he wasn't exceptional. Like I think he finished like 6th or 7th maybe.
Sonoda basically did the same thing, where it was like, he was in a very good F3 field, but he got like 7th in the championship.
Yeah, and so much of that. Yeah, you're right. Like so much of it, we think about like the quality of the drivers around you define whether you finish first or
Yeah.
You know, you look at the 2018 Formula 2 field: Russell, Albon, Norris.
Yeah, if you finish 6th in that, you could win the title this year,
Yeah.
or like any other year in F2. To be fair, the F2 field this year is crazy as well.
Yeah, and then like 2019, it was like Latifi finished second. Like, no offense, but like
That's the thing.
that field was nowhere near the caliber it was in 2018.
There's like waves in it, because if you have like a really good F3 field, they'll all get promoted, and then the next year you've got an amazing F2 field. Then they'll all get promoted, and then you've got a kind of like average F2 field. By that point, you've got a new. So you gotta get like either a really good F3 selection or a really good F2 selection. Who's an F3 this year that's actually decent?
Bartomeu's doing quite well.
I feel like there's a whole new cast again. Like,
yeah,
I don't know anyone in it. Like,
It's like so many drivers went
Yeah.
from F3 to F2 this year, so it's a
Yeah.
whole new.
even
like,
Behrman, he's like 12. He's in like F2 now. It's mad.
mate, he's so
yeah, he's
young.
so young.
He's 17.
He's bloody talented, isn't he? He's ridiculous.
He's unreal. I think. Okay, Van Dorn, Verline. Where I said Verline.
Yeah.
Van Dorn, Verline, O'Ward,
Lawson,
Good shout.
Lawson.
Iwasa.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, get
just
them
for
all
you.
in.
Just for you. We'll
Get
do
them
that.
all in. We're going to need another Red Bull team, honestly.
Oasa prop going heavy. Nah,
Serious.
listen, I'm here for it, and I think junior formulas. You should be watching them. I know you said
Need
you've
the
just
love.
started.
Just
getting
literally
into-
just started getting into it, and it's fascinating. I love, I think it's an interesting point to go on, is the reverse grid.
Yeah.
The proposals about that potentially being in Formula One. How do you guys feel about that? Because I think it's a really contentious subject. I'm so against it. I've got to be honest.
Well, so we had Aldas on, who was. Do you remember how against it he was? He was like, "Why should you be getting?"
I could see the
just
steam
imagine-
coming out.
Yeah, he was fuming. He was like, "Nah, you should be getting rewarded for being
Maybe I'm
shit."
not that much, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
definitely not.
No, because
for it.
you'd get teams. I think you'd get teams playing the system somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different to F2, where it's almost like F2 is like just all guns blazing. If you start at 8th, you can still win the race. You can't realistically do that in Formula One.
The cars are all the same.
Yeah. It would have way
Fundamentally.
more of an impact in Formula One in the sense of like you would just get teams playing mind games and doing things tactically. And yeah, you'd be getting rewarded for being like the 4th best team on the grid or 5th best. Even if you were to just reverse the top 10, not reverse the whole field like doing F2. Yeah, like why should Alpine get pole now for a sprint race because they're kind of like a bit slower than everyone else? I don't know.
The only way that
It
works,
would be entertaining though. That's the thing.
it would be
like it
so
would be hilarious, but
Yeah. The
from a
only
logical
way
level, I don't know if it would work.
they couldn't reverse the whole grid. Like if
No
they
chance.
reversed the
That
top
would be
10,
funny, though.
like they do in F2, that's a bit more realistic, but it's still not what I'd want. Like, no.
At the end of the season, we should do like a Formula One shootout, a one-off event that's not a championship event. Do reverse grid. Boom, entire grid reversed.
Just
You
chuck them
win.
all in,
Title
like,
decider
If
as
you
well.
win, yeah,
Oh.
you get it's a title decider, and you get some prize money if you win the race.
I'd love to see like an all-stars series. Just chuck them all in the exact same F4 car, right? Just a really little F4
Yes.
shitter. Right? And you
Yes.
get like all the best drivers from Super Formula, IndyCar, Formula E, Formula One, NASCAR,
Yeah.
Rally, everything. Like chuck them all in and see who comes out
Yeah,
top.
not do it like Race of Champions, because Race of Champions is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, one person races against
Yeah,
another
it's
guy on snow
laps,
for
isn't
like no reason. It's like, no. Just,
Why is it on the snow?
why is it always on snow? None of you drive on snow. What are we doing here? Makes no sense.
It's literally just pure vibes, isn't it?
It
That is
is.
literally
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
is. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's-
why not?
Fuck
Yeah,
it.
but like if Lucas Blakely dunks on 2 F1 drivers,
Yeah, it's
shout out
crazy, man.
Lucas, man.
Esports massive.
Crazy.
Hero, absolute legend. No, I think, I'd love to see like the reverse top 10 just as a one-off. Like as a one-off, just do it for vibes.
Yeah.
Just see. Like, I think that would be, because one thing with F1, right? And I've seen this point mentioned before, particularly when talking about people, like talking to people who don't really follow F1 but follow other sports. F1 is like the only sport, motorsport's the only sport that gives the quickest car an advantage at the start as well. It's like doing a 100-meter sprint and putting Usain Bolt, he's only got to do 90 meters.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So there is a sporting argument that putting the fastest at the front is inevitably going to... But then there's no way. You can't have 20 cars starting side by side.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. But this is... The thing that I love about Formula One is that it's both about the driver and their talent, but it's also about the talent of... the teams and what they can do and the engineers and what car they can produce. Does that feel kind of condescending towards a team? Say, you've built the best car, but we're going to dock you anyway. Because it's a whole...
And the other way around, because if you go, oh yeah, guys, I'm sorry you've made a shit car, but like, here you go, here's some bonus points so you can start at the front of the field.
Do you take that? Is that a personal insult? I mean, I think if it's going to allow you to win a race and earn more money as a result of that,
that's a good way of looking at it, because I think, you are rewarding the quickest, but they're the quickest for a reason. They're the quickest because they've made the best car.
Yeah.
Like they didn't just inherit the car. Like, they didn't just car. Like, they made it. They put their blood, sweat and tears into it, and they should maybe they should be rewarded for making the best car by starting a little bit further up.
I guess you've almost got to see qualifying as like an extension of the overall race. It's almost like if you did 100 meters and you did a little qualifying thing beforehand, that's almost like you get put in an easier heat or something. Yeah, you do a little 10 meters beforehand.
Well, I heard an interesting point on Twitter the other day, which was basically, why not give points for qualifying in the sense that you can build the fastest car and then there's another one that can last the race, which I thought was an interesting point, because let's say something like an Alpine whacks it into the top 5 out of nowhere, and they earn points for that, and that counts towards their overall score. Is that a cool thing to do? And then you balance the points and you take the average or something like that?
You kind of used to get that in the refueling days, where teams would fuel light on purpose. So I remember Suzuka 2005, where you had those Alonso outside of Schumacher through 130R, like one of the most iconic overtakes of all time. You had Ralf Schumacher's Toyota on pole and Jenson Button's Honda P2. Now, I think they underfueled those cars to make sure the two Japanese manufacturers are starting at the front? Yes. Probably.
Allegedly. But if Japan is watching.
Yeah, and then in the race, Ralf had to pit early and he fell right down because they threw the race for the sake of getting up front and qualifying. Teams are prepared to do that. I mean, Crashgate, for example. That was...
Next question.
Interesting one.
Also, Felipe is actually... there was an Autosport article I read yesterday. He's pursuing it, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's not just waffle.
It's just a grey area. It's a rabbit hole. Once you start going down, it's obviously it's not going to happen, but it's like... If, for example, you were to go, oh, yeah, no, you're right, then every other decision during the course of that season, Lewis Hamilton goes, well, I shouldn't have got this penalty here or this whatever. It's long.
Opens up a massive can of worms that they can just pick out different things. And
every person who finishes second in the Formula One Championship is going to go, well,
for sure,
ladies and gentlemen, how about I tell you about this? It's just,
where's
it's not going to work.
Stack it.
Yeah, slap it on the table.
Because I think in that race, if you just disqualified the Renaults, for example, then that's Nico Rosberg's first F1 win because he finished second.
Yeah.
So then,
there's Rosberg's suing him as well.
Yeah, where's my first F1 win?
Yeah, where's my trophy? I want my trophy, mate.
That's
deliver that.
Valid of
It changes the whole course of a season. Like the season went that way, but you talk about the butterfly effect a lot, right?
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, does this happen? And so forth. Like it's so hard to say that this dictated what happened in the next race and to this driver and to that team. It doesn't work like that. It's a culmination of a whole season.
Yeah, because there might be decisions that are made in split seconds by drivers in races that happened after that don't happen if they're in a different situation. Sure. If Massa goes into a certain race leading the championship where he wasn't before, he might not go for an overtake that he would have gone. There's just so many nuances to it. Yeah, it's just not. It's not linear like that.